Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and I do pen reviews and that sort of thing. And today, I've got a great pen. This is the ever-clickable Pilot Vanishing Point or Capless. Mine is actually a Capless, depending on the market that you buy the pen in and some other things that we'll get to here in a second. This is a bit of a double whammy review, which is fitting because this is my second attempt at putting a review of this pen out there on the internet. So why is it a double whammy? Because what we've got is the nib unit that came in this pen plus an upgrade nib that I want to share with you. And both of these, this is the cool part to me, I got this pen with its original nib, which is excellent, and the upgraded nib for the price of one Vanishing Point if you buy it in North America. I ordered mine from Pensachi in Japan. How did I do that? Why did I do that? Well, as we look at the design and function of this pen, and as we look at the writing test of both of those nibs, I will tell you why I did that and how you, if you play your cards right, can get the pen at a total cost of just a normal Vanishing Point with not one, but two different kinds of nib. And I think you'll be interested in one of those nibs in particular. So let's flip that camera and dive right into this review. Okay, so when you first get your Pilot Capless, and I know that the packaging sometimes varies based on which Vanishing Point model you buy or which exact model you buy. I've noticed it may determine what kind of packaging your pen comes in. This is a base model Capless that I got through Pensachi, no affiliation there, and it came with a gold-plated steel nib, and I have that in a medium. Great nib. I really like that. So when I got the pen, it came in this box, of course, in a plastic sleeve and with the little tag and all that. All that's down below the pen. You get all of this stuff. So a few things from Pensachi, thank you, and social media hashtag, that sort of a thing. The plastic sleeve the pen was originally in. An empty cartridge was in the pen. It is a cartridge converter pen, proprietary to Pilot. And then, of course, some instructions, warranty, all that good stuff. So, basic stuff comes in the box, but what we're really concerned with is, of course, the pen itself. So let's slide that out of there, get this out of the way, and take a look at the pen. So I got mine in a basic blue, navy blue pen, and I like this. This is a brass metal barrel, a metal pen, lots of metal in this pen, chromed and lacquered, and just a well-made pen. I was not sure, I should say this up front, I was not sure, just as I was not with the Curados you see in the background, whether or not I actually liked these kinds of pens. And actually, I bought the Pilot first, and I'm just going to say Vanishing Point from now on, even though technically mine is a Capless. They're the same thing. I bought the Vanishing Point first, and I'm glad I did, because it is my favorite of the two. I'll remove that mystery now too. It is my favorite of the two pens. I think I like the style better, the form factor better, and just the overall quality feel of the pen. Anyway, I'm glad I got this pen first. I really do like it. I use this all the time. You may notice as I turn it around, you may even start to see some bits of wear mark. I know there's a very fine, there it is, a fine scratch on the barrel right here already where I accidentally dropped it off. I don't recommend doing this. Dropped it off of my dresser. I forgot it was there and was clumsy, and then there you go. Anyway, very well-made, durable pen from my experience. Now that's talking about just kind of the pen overall. Durability questions that I would still have, even though it has a long track record, they've been making them since the 90s, they've made improvements, is still on the mechanism itself and coming out that door and where it might put on the nib and feed. I still have questions about that myself, and we'll see how long that lasts, but I love the solid, listen to this, that solid sound. It's like a good solid door thunk on a well-built car. It just has the sound and the function of quality. You can tell. That's hard to convey through video, but you can tell by feel. This is really well done, and I have really enjoyed the pen because it is so well made. So as you can see, in this particular model, you have the chromed knock and two rings here where the two barrel pieces come together. It has that very long and well functional clip, and you have that trap door, which you can see here see it goes down as the nib comes out. And as I said, I think a lot of people have questions and probably various experiences on the wear of that coming in and out, and whether or not it does put wear and tear on the nib and feed. But so far, so good as far as my pen is concerned. Ergonomically, you'll notice that the clip has these two kind of indentions on the sides, and that does help you because that's right where you would grip the pen, I think, naturally anyway, or I might actually a little bit further back, but I think a lot of people right here. And it gives you just a little bit of extra room, because I wondered, will that clip bother me? And the answer for me anyway is no. For some people the answer is yes, your mileage will vary, but I find it a comfortable pen to write with. I use this a lot on days where I'm going to be in and out of meetings, just taking quick notes. It's wonderful for that, signing things. It's a great signing pen, and just very, very handy for somebody who gets caught in situations where there's lots of talking and you need to make sure your pen doesn't dry out. It's just easy to do that one-handed, and I like that. If you feel like that's too loud, they do make a version of this pen where they've re-engineered the whole mechanism here at the knock end of the pen so that it will be quieter. Just understand, you're going to pay at least 3 times, 2 to 3.5 times as much for that model of this pen, and it's not a cheap pen to begin with. So, how much does that bother you? For me, it doesn't bother me enough not to be paying that. But, again, that's a personal choice, and we all have our reasons, right? This is a judgment-free zone for what you spend. If you don't spend more than 2, we love you for that. If you spend ungodly amounts, we love you for that too. It's all right. So, as you take this pen apart, let's take a look at the innards of the... I haven't used the word innards in a long time. I love that word. Of the pen. So, you take that apart. It's not... Before I bought this pen, I had read a few reviews, and some people complained about how complicated it is. I think it's actually pretty simple. Of course, I'm not tearing the pen all the way down to... just, an empty box of loose parts. I'm just doing what I need to do to fill the pen, clean the pen, that sort of thing. And I think it's quite simple. You notice it has the notch here, and that is because when you're assembling the pen, you'll notice it has this slot. That goes into that slot, and then you reassemble the pen. So that makes sure that the nib is properly aligned in the front barrel. And so that's what that's about. Then you have a metal sleeve for your converter, and I would imagine this is to reduce wear because of the knock on the converter itself, because that plastic, of course, would wear and possibly cause a problem. And so this would, especially if you refill your cartridges, this protects that from that wear, ensures that the pen is wearing properly. And so that is just a preventative piece. You'll notice my pen is almost empty. I use this a lot. This is what's left, the little bit that I hope gets me through this review of some Iroshizuku kon-peki. What a beautiful shade, even when it's just a dried out cartridge. But you can use the Kon-40, everybody's not quite favorite converter, in this pen. It doesn't hold a lot of ink in that case, but you certainly can do that. That's what I have with the other nib. Okay, so very, very simple to take apart. You would just pull this out, put it back in. It's really not hard. The only downside of this is, and it's true of all pens that have a solid converter, is you can't see how much ink you have. And if you use that Kon-40 converter, it's not a lot. So, there's that that issue. I think I prefer just refilling the cartridge. It's a less messy thing in checking your levels. That kon-40 converter can spin as you're taking the pin off and twist the piston down and cause your pen to leak ink if you did still have plenty. So that's kind of a pain. So you just kind of wait until it runs dry to check, and that's where you'll hear complaints. But if you just refill the converter, issue solved, not an issue, and you actually have more ink. It's just, that's my preferred method with this nib, which is the one that I use the most and have had the longest because it's what came with the pen. This is, again, a medium nib, and I'm just going to leave it out while we talk about it. This is a medium nib, steel and gold plated. Now, that's because I got it at Pensace. They don't actually sell this generally through retailers in the North American market. It is a less expensive option, and so as I said, I got this pen, and especially with a discount, for less than the price of a Curadas, and that makes it a very good option. That wins, to me, that wins the battle over the Curadas when it's at that better price. So that is the nib that I chose. The North American market, they're all 18 karat gold nibs, not gold plated, but gold nibs, and so that's the reason for the price difference as well. But if you're wanting to get in at an entry point, I do recommend this steel nib, and it writes so well you'll forget which one you got. Anyway, I know that from experience. It actually has been a surprisingly, whoops, let me put this sleeve back on. It has been a surprisingly good nib. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in until we get to the writing test, because I do want to show you how the standard steel nib writes first, and then I'll show you the other one. So let's do quickly a size comparison, and then we'll get into the writing test, where I will also show you that second nib unit that I bought. Okay, so here is, of course, the Pilot Vanishing Point. Let's go ahead and compare it to a pen people do definitely cross shop, and that is the Platinum Curadas. That gives you a size comparison there. As I mentioned in that review, this is a long knock and therefore a longer pen. Otherwise, you can see the bodies of the pen without the knock really almost identical in length. The Curadas, of course, larger in girth, and then that knock, of course, makes it a longer pen and slightly less pocketable in a shirt pocket. That, for me, becomes an important thing. Move this down a bit, and let's put it against another Pilot pen that is very pocketable in terms of a shirt pocket, and that is the Pilot Prera, and a less expensive pen by half, actually by 2/3 if we're talking about the North American market gold nibbed pen. But this is a steel nib pen and is a very handy Pilot pen with an excellent steel nib. I have that in fine, I believe it is. And then, very common pen, similar in size, that I carry with me a lot, is the Jinhao 51A. Not at all in the same form factor, but almost the exact same length and the exact same girth, and is in my shirt pocket quite often. It's still, I don't care if it is cheap, this is one of my favorite pens. Somebody asked the other day in the comments, do you still like those inexpensive pens now that your collection includes some that are more upmarket? Oh, you bet I do, and this is still one of my favorites, both to write with and love that resin. Another pen similar in size to that would be a Sailor Compass, another pen that I really enjoy writing with, and kind of a different medium fine steel nib, about the same price as a Prera. Or another pen, quite portable, would be the TWSBI Go, or, similar in size, the newer TWSBI Swipe. So that kind of gives you an idea of size and pens that I carry with me quite often. Now, as I said, that clip doesn't bother me, and it works kind of like an ergonomic grip to orient your grip and to help you visually see where that nib is, which on a nib that just almost is the visual size of a hooded nib, that can be helpful. So again, Pilot, Vanishing Point, Capless. And I do believe that that is because, as I said, I'm nearly out of ink. I don't have enough in this, and my bottle of ink is not with me, and I didn't realize I had gotten it that low. I wrote some more with it after I noticed it was low. And this is a medium nib, and it really is an excellent nib, and this is the kon-peki blue, which Iroshizuku kon-peki, I just love it. And again, any skips here are because nearly empty, and I apologize for that, but it writes very smoothly. And this is just, again, gold-plated steel. This is not a gold nib. That's the difference between this and the North American market pen. This is just not offered here, though you can get it through some real retailers. And I really do like this steel nib. And one of the things that I liked about it is, now this was a sweet spot. This is not normal. Well, actually, here, let me do this. With what little ink I have left, that shows you the wetness of that medium. Fairly dry, although it writes with well enough with the saturation, you don't notice that it's really very dry. But I got this pen for just over, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but just over $70. An 18 karat gold nib, as you buy in the Vanishing Point in the North American market, is going to be about $150. So, you do the easy math on that one, right? If you want the gold, you're going to need to fork that over. And then actually, to be honest, $150 for an 18 karat gold nib by Pilot, that's not bad. I realize that's a lot of money, and I, at a point in my life, would have thought, that's absolutely nuts. And just before I decide whether that's going to be, add to cart or delete from the cart, I still kind of do. But the truth is, in the market, even if it's not your market, that's actually not bad at all. I mean, gold does cost things, and so there's a reason for that. At least that can be kind of justified. This is a more complicated pen. You kind of understand that. It's very good quality, and there are a lot of pens in that $70 or even $80 price range. They don't match this pen in materials, quality, build, and things. So, I'm very pleased with mine. And this steel nib, again, please ignore that skipping. That's my fault because it should have been refilled before I left the house this morning. But I didn't realize it was that low. The steel nib is excellent. So if you want to get one, but maybe you don't care about the gold nib. I don't always care about the gold nib. Steel nibs these days are very impressive. And this one's good. Then, man, go for that cheaper one. Wait till it's on sale. That's what I did. I watched for months, to be honest, and then nabbed it at just the right time, at just the right combo of sale and discount and blah, 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 and grabbed that. There are benefits to that. Also, if you will watch pen forums and things like that where people are doing sells and trades, you can sometimes get that gold nib for anywhere in between this $70-$50, depending on usage wear and things like that. So keep your eyes out. Bargain hunt. If you find that too high, but you do definitely want to have the gold, then you can have it. Now I'm going to swap these out, come back, and let's do a writing test of the gold nib. Okay, so this is my upgrade. This is the 18 karat gold nib, and this is a stub. Yeah, a stub nib in a Pilot Vanishing Point Capless. You may not have known that was available, but that's available. And here's the great thing about it. I got this for $70, this nib unit. A gold nib for $70. Again, sounds expensive, and it is, but for what you're getting, I then have a Pilot Vanishing Point pen with both a steel nib unit that is in a medium that I can use for everyday writing, and this stub for those times when I want to carry a pen that's better for personal correspondence and things like that, where I like to use stub nibs. So, because I still write letters, postcards, things like that, get well cards, things, and so I like to use a stub on all of those whenever I can, and this becomes a great pen for that. And just like the other, it just goes right in there. You do want to be careful because you do have that issue of this being, it doesn't always turn for people, but it can, and then it will make a mess. I really haven't had that issue that I know of, unless there's a bunch of ink up in there that I don't know about, which, could happen. Okay, so, but bottom line, you get the pen like I did on sale and with a discount for $70. Then you get the nib unit for $70. I have 2 nib units and the pen for less than the price typically on the street for a Pilot Vanishing Point with one of these nibs. That's why I really like this. And I do. I think it is a great pen, and I really enjoy writing with it. So, stub nib, which gives you that line variation. Whoops. Very thin to the side, thick. And you get this in, I talked too much with that out, didn't I? In a clickable, since I'm talking again, in a clickable pen. And I love that. Just very, very handy, and overall a decent price. Let's do a little bit of wetness there. Much wetter than that steel nib, so that's kind of to be expected to keep up with that stub. That's kind of small writing for this nib, really, as you can tell. Probably likes larger writing. Whoops. Much better. My handwriting is just off today. I get that. It happens. But, just really nice. And if you can get past the writer today, the pen itself is just excellent. Just to show you that is me and not the pen, you see there. So it just really is excellent. And what a great deal. If you're somebody that likes the idea of a fountain pen that you can one-handed open and close and not let it dry out while you're talking like I did a minute ago, which is really counter-purpose to this pen, then this is my favorite option. I love the Curados. I've had great experience with mine. I know that's a controversial pen. This one, less controversial, and for a good reason. It really is just excellent, but you now also know there's a way to make this pen even more versatile for really a decent price overall compared to just the on-the-street price of just one pen with one nib. It can be more than that, and I think that's a pretty cool find. So, I hope you're all doing well. God bless you. Have a great week. And tell me what you think about this pen. Would you use a stub? Would you use extra fine? Of the things that are available, what would be your favorite? If you can pick 2, just like going to a sandwich shop and you got to pick 2. You get, the sandwich and the salad, the sandwich and the soup, the sandwich and the macaroni and cheese. What would you pick? Would you pick a medium and a fine, a medium and an extra fine, a medium and a stub? What combination would you buy if you were to work this same deal? God bless you. Have a great week.